You're watching CNN. This is Connect the World. I'm Hannah Vaughan-Jones. Welcome back. More now on our top story as decision day nears, of course, for the Trump administration and the Iran nuclear deal. As we heard, the White House now says its statement that Iran has a secret nuclear weapons program was a typo. It was changed online to read Iran had such a program, had in the past tense. So are we getting, though, an idea of where Mr. Trump might be leaning on this deal? Our White House reporter Stephen Collinson joins us now from Washington. So, Stephen, do you think this was an administrative typo or some kind of insight into where this administration is going on policy?
I think it could be both. Inadvertently, the National Security Council says that this was just a clerical error in this statement. I think it should be noted that this White House has had a number of issues with typos in statements. It doesn't seem that its process of vetting and verification in terms of what the press office sometimes puts out in terms of dates, spellings, has been that impressive, certainly not compared to previous White Houses. So it could be a clerical error. But of course, a lot of people are reading more into this because it's pretty clear that the White House wants the fallout of the Netanyahu presentation yesterday to cast doubt on the future of the Iran deal and potentially to give the president a reason for pulling out. So there's that issue. And also, you know, this White House has often shaded the truth. It has attacked reporters. It has talked about alternative facts. It doesn't get a lot of benefit of the doubt when it comes to an issue like this because of that.
Yeah, talking about Donald Trump's language around the deal then so far, and particularly around this new evidence, so say, by the Israelis, he said since that it shows that, if nothing else, he was right all along. Does that suggest to you that this is going straight towards the bin, this deal?
It's very difficult to look at the events of the past week or so following the visit of Emmanuel Macron, the French president, and him coming out and saying that he thinks Trump will pull out of it. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said in his first trip abroad over the weekend that it looks like Trump is going to leave. This episode, the what appears to be sort of message coordination between the Israelis and the Trump administration, it's very difficult to see that this is not heading, as you say, towards the U.S. pulling out of the deal in the near future. The president has kind of raised expectations. He's playing this game of televised nuclear poker, not just with Iran, but with the situation with North Korea, raising expectations and saying, well, I've not decided what I'm going to do, but we'll see. But evidence suggests that certainly the U.S. is going to pull out of the deal, which would be a very profound thing for international relations. But this is President Trump. You know, he is known to change his mind in a minute, and he could turn and do something we don't expect and be very unpredictable. But logic and evidence suggests that he's moving the way of pulling out of the deal.
Stephen, thank you very much indeed. Now, Iran's foreign minister says Donald Trump is, quote, jumping on a rehash of old allegations already dealt with by the IAEA. Inspectors with the International Atomic Energy Agency have certified Iran's compliance with the nuclear deal multiple times. And today, an IAEA spokesman repeated a key finding from 2015. The agency determined there were no credible indications that Iran was pursuing nuclear weapons after 2009. Well, we're joined now by Ollie Heinonen, a former Deputy Director General of the IAEA. He is a Senior Advisor on Science and Non-Proliferation at the Foundation for a Defence of Democracy. So welcome to the programme. Thank you. Project Ahmed, this project that the Israeli Prime Minister has now portrayed in his presentation to the whole world. Were you aware of it, or was this all new news to you?
Certainly, IAEA was aware about it. Already in 2005, we started to raise some concerns regarding this program and Project Ahmed. And then our concerns were raised further during 2008 when we briefed the IAEA board about some of this information which you saw yesterday in the speech of Mr. Netanyahu. So it has been there for a while, and the IAEA has tried to dive deeper into the structure of the program and to see where it is heading for.
The information that Mr. Netanyahu gave us yesterday, though, Was some of that detail not available to you as far back as 2005 or 2009? And had it been available to you, do you think it would have charted a very different course as far as the Iran nuclear deal was concerned?
I think that this documentation is actually a matter of concern. This is much more detailed what we saw in 2005 and during the subsequent years. But this shows actually a very cohesive approach for preliminary design of a nuclear weapon. So that's why it is a matter of concern. And this actually, I would more concentrate here on this IAEA report in December 2015, when the IAEA discussed with Iran about so-called possible military dimension. And when we look this documentation, and we have to still dive much deeper to that and to understand what exactly is there, it looks to me that Iran was not entirely complying with its obligations to address the IAEA concerns. And as you remember, this was a prerequisite for the implementation of JCPOA. So I think that this is why the P5 and the international community has to take it very seriously, and IAEA has to take a very different look to this material.
But Israel is clearly saying that, as far as it's concerned, Iran has a nuclear weapons program in place right now, and this new evidence that they have shows that quite clearly. Are you saying, or is the IAEA saying, that that is not the case, that even if Iran had been trying to implement or restart a weapons program, your inspectors would have halted that in the last 3 years?
I think that the IAEA has to take another look to this material and look where it leads. There are a couple of concerns I have. First of all, this is much more extensive than what was known before. It has new locations which definitely IAEA has not visited. That's an important. And then we need to remember that this was only documents, papers, computer simulations. We have not seen the equipment. And it appears to me that also equipment was manufactured. So the IAEA has to see the equipment, visit the sites, and discuss these findings with the relevant scientists and technicians.
Yeah, it does seem to suggest, though, that the Israelis have unearthed some new evidence which would be relevant then to the IAEA and relevant potentially to any new deal should Donald Trump pull the plug on the current deal in place.
Certainly, this problem needs to be addressed. First of all, I don't think that the country which is a party to the NPT should maintain this kind of documentation. It's not in the spirit of non-proliferation treaty. So there are a lot of things which ought to be done now based on these findings, and to find out if there is something else what we have not yet seen.
Mohammed El-Baradei, the former IAEA chief, has tweeted to comment on these new Israeli findings. And he said specifically in this tweet, we're just showing our viewers now, don't destroy the temple, effectively seeming to imply that if you destroy the current Iranian nuclear deal that's on the table, that's been signed, that all of the other infrastructure and security and stability of the region would fall away. Would you agree with that analysis? Do you think that this deal is so crucial that if it were to fall apart, that the entire regional stability would be at risk?
I think that the deal at least needs to be fixed. We cannot leave a country with this kind of information without knowing what is the real status, whether the single-use nuclear equipment and materials have been really dismantled. Is there some undeclared nuclear material still in Iran? We remember that IAEA inspectors found some uranium particles at Parchin when they went there in 2015. So there are a number of issues there. Whether this will be an additional agreement to the JCPOA or not, I leave that one for the policymakers.
Ollie Heinonen, former Deputy Director General of the IAEA. We very much appreciate you talking to us on CNN. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Now, live from London, you're watching Connect the World, and we will be right back with more news after this short break.